This video will walk you through the disassembly and reassembly of the Microsoft Surface Laptop Go 2. To prepare for your disassembly, check that your work surface is clean and clear of any debris or abrasive particles, and covered with an EST-safe, non-marring material. Equip an anti-static wrist strap, and ensure that your work area is properly grounded and safe. Lastly, make sure you're wearing protective eyewear as a safety precaution. At any time during a repair you discover that the battery has any type of damage, such as leaking, expansion, or folds, immediately discontinue the disassembly. Before you begin disassembly, power off the device and disconnect it from its power supply. Close the display and flip the laptop over so the non-stick feet are facing up. Insert the point of a spudger at the end of the foot pad, and then push the spudger towards the middle of the foot to pry the edge up. Grasp the loosened end of the foot pad with your fingers, and then peel the foot pad up and off. Repeat this procedure for the second foot pad. Once you have both of the foot pads removed, remove any tape residue and clean the recesses with isopropyl alcohol. To remove the C cover, use a Phillips 0 screwdriver to remove the 7 screws from the D-bucket foot recesses. The screws are not all the same length, so make sure to note exactly where each screw came from. There are C covers with and without a fingerprint reader. When doing a C cover replacement, make sure you're replacing the cover with one that matches the original. C covers without a fingerprint reader will have a small bump in the upper right hand corner of the power button. The C cover is secured to the D bucket by several plastic clips. To release them, open the laptop to a 90-degree angle and then rest it display side down. Use a plastic opening tool to pry between the C cover and the D bucket along the front edge. You can release the clips by rotating the opening tool about 15 degrees to create a gap between the C cover and the D bucket. Slide the opening tool along the bottom edge, releasing the clips as you go. You should hear a soft popping sound as the clips release. Place the laptop on its left side, and slide the opening tool along the right edge, releasing the clips along that edge, and then rotate the laptop to release the clips along the left edge of the device. Gently rotate the opening tool at each corner hinge to release the corner clips. The final 4 bent clips will remain engaged for now. Finally, push the C cover towards the display to release the last 4 clips by the vents. Rotate the C cover up gently, making sure not to strain the FPC cable, and then hold it in place. Use your spudger to lift the battery FPC cable locking gate, and then use your finger to pull the cable out. Once the battery is disconnected, be sure to place an ESD-safe battery cover on top of the battery before continuing any repairs. Use your spudger to flip up the lock on the C cover FPC ZIF connector, and then use your fingers to disconnect the cable. The C cover and keyboard should now lift right off. Gently pry up and remove the rSSD shielding with a plastic opening tool, starting in the upper left-hand corner. The rSSD is secured by a single Phillips 00 screw. Remove that, and then inspect the rSSD for any thermal interface material. If there's any residue, clean it off with some isopropyl alcohol. Gently grasp the rSSD and lift it up slightly, and then pull it straight back to remove it. To remove the AB cover, we first need to remove the heatsink. Begin by removing the 4 Phillips 00 screws, securing the heatsink to the PCBA. With the flat end of your spudger, gently separate the heatsink from the PCBA. Use some isopropyl alcohol to clean any remaining thermal paste from the CPU and heatsink. Remove the mylar cover from the antenna connectors using the pointed end of your spudger, and then disconnect the antenna cables from the PCBA. Free the antenna cables from the D bucket by removing the black tape securing them. Disconnect the LCD cable by lifting up the plastic flap attached to the metal buckle to unlock the connector, and then gently slide the cable out of its socket. Use a Phillips 0 screwdriver to remove 2 screws from the left and right hinge. Make sure the AB cover is at a 90-degree angle, and then secure it with one hand while removing the remaining screws from the left and right hinges. Lift the AB cover up and out of the D bucket. To remove the Surflink port, begin by removing the 3 screws from the port bracket and then lift the bracket out. Use your spudger to gently lift the foil tape covering the Surflink's cable connector, and then peel it back with your fingers. Unlock the Surflink's cable connector and slide the cable back to disconnect it. Remove the Surflink cable from the cooling fan and then lift the assembly up and out. Surflink port removal does not require removing the AB cover. If you're not already removing the AB cover, simply remove the 2 right hinge screws and then tilt the AB cover back to make space to remove the Surflink bracket. Remove the bracket screws and disconnect the cable as previously described. To remove the battery, begin by removing the 4 Phillips screws, securing it to the D bucket. With all the screws removed, lift the battery by grabbing a screw bracket with your finger and lift it out, making sure to avoid touching the battery as much as possible. Using the provided loops on the new battery, lower it into place in the D bucket, making sure to seat the tabs along the front edge properly. Once the battery is properly seated, remove the plastic covering and reinstall the 4 screws that secure the battery to the D bucket. Place the Surflink port into the D bucket and then route its cable around the cooling fan. Reconnect its cable and then cover the connector with replacement foil. Place the Surflink bracket into place and reinstall the 3 screws securing it to the D bucket. Lower the AB cover into place in the D bucket and then while supporting it with one hand, reinstall 1 screw into each hinge. Once those first 2 screws are installed, reinstall the remaining screws into the left and right hinges. Slide the LCD connector into its socket and lock it into place. Make sure the LCD connector cable is routed below the metal tab near the hinge. Secure the antenna cables to the D bucket using the supplied black tape, and then using your spudger or fingers, realign the antenna cables and press them into place. Finally, install a new Mylar shield over the antenna connectors. Make sure there are no contaminants or residual thermal paste on the 2 IC chips on the PCBA, and then reinstall a new thermal module. Secure the new thermal module with 4 new screws in the same order that they were removed. Insert the rSSD into its connector, and then secure it with a single Phillips screw. Install a new rSSD shielding cover and press it down to engage the clips around the perimeter. Before reinstalling the C cover, check for any loose articles that may be present within the device enclosure areas, around the speaker magnets, the area around the battery cover, and both sides of the C cover. If nothing is found, hold the C cover over the device so that the FPC can reach its connector easily, and then slide it into place in its connector. Once it's in place, press down on the locking tab to secure it. Next, slide the battery FPC into place and press down on the locking tab to secure it in place. Before installing new C cover screws, verify that the battery is functioning properly. Charge the battery to about 50% to validate functionality, and then connect the SDT USB drive. Run the SDT battery repair validation to ensure that all features and functions operate as expected. Power off the device and continue the reassembly. Align the C cover with the front edge alignment posts and lower it into place, and then press gently on the edges of the C cover to engage the clips. Close the AB cover and turn the device over. Reinstall new screws to secure the C cover. Remember, the screws are not all the same size. Make sure all the screws are installed in their correct location. Remove the protective sheet to expose the adhesive on a new D-bucket foot and align the foot's locating post with the holes in the bucket. Press the foot firmly in place to make sure it's firmly adhered. Repeat this process for the second foot. With the new feet installed, let the device sit feet down for at least 12 hours to make sure the adhesive fully bonds. With your device fully reassembled, power it on and run the Surface Diagnostic Toolkit to make sure all the laptop's features and functions work as expected.